Welcome to Vivid English Podcast. Hello, everyone. I am Sarah.
And hello to you all. I am James.
It is so wonderful to be in the studio with you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Feeling relaxed and ready to chat. How are things with you?
Things are great, though. I have to admit, looking at our topic today gave me a little bit of anxiety.
Oh, really? Anxiety. Why is that?
Well, we're talking about self-introductions, and honestly, even as a native speaker, whenever I walk into a room full of strangers and someone says, "Tell us about yourself," my mind just goes completely blank.
You are definitely not alone there. I mean, that is such a universal feeling. That moment when all eyes are on you, your palms get a little sweaty, and
Yeah.
suddenly you forget your own name.
Exactly. And for our listeners who are learning English, that pressure is like doubled. They aren't just worried about what to say, they're worried about how to say it. Thinking about grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation. It's just a lot to handle.
It is a heavy cognitive load.
Yeah.
But that is exactly why we're here today. We want to sort of change the way you see that moment.
Okay.
We want to move away from the fear of performance
Yeah.
and toward the joy of connection.
I love that. Moving from performance to connection. Because usually we think of an introduction as a test, right?
Right. We think, okay, I need to give a report on my life.
Mm-hmm.
But the philosophy we found in the research for this is quite different. An introduction isn't just a list of facts.
What is it then?
It's the beginning of a relationship.
So it's less about here's my resume and more about here's who I am as, a human being.
Precisely. And there was one piece of research that I found particularly reassuring for language learners. Do you remember the point about confidence versus accuracy?
Oh, absolutely. This was fascinating. The sources suggest that when people meet you, they value your confidence much more than they value perfect grammar.
Let's just let that sink in for a moment. Confidence is more valuable than perfection.
But, okay, let me play devil's advocate here. It is easy to say be confident, but if I'm worried about making a mistake, how can I be confident?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Confidence doesn't just appear by magic. It comes from preparation. It comes from having a scaffold or a structure to lean on.
A structure, so if you know the map, you don't have to worry about getting lost.
Exactly. If you have a plan, you can stop thinking about what comes next and just focus on the person in front of you. And the best structure we found is called the present, past, future framework.
I really like this framework. It sounds so simple, but I think the magic is really in the details. Present, past, future.
It creates a narrative arc. It
Yeah.
turns your life into a short story rather than a grocery list.
Okay, let's break this down. Let's start with the first step, the present. Who are you now?
This is your anchor. You need to establish your current reality. Usually people say, my name is James, I live in London, I am a teacher.
Which is fine. I mean, it's accurate, but it's also a little bit textbook, isn't it? It sounds a bit static.
It does. It lacks a certain flavor. So let's look at some alternatives that sound a bit more sophisticated. Instead of I live in, try using the phrase I'm currently based in.
I'm currently based in. I do hear that a lot in business contexts. Why is that phrase better?
Well, based in implies that you're active. It suggests that this is your headquarters, but maybe you travel or you have a global mindset. It just feels more modern.
I see. It sounds more flexible. I'm currently based in New York.
Perfect articulation. And notice the word currently. It suggests that life is a journey, and this is just where you are right now.
That is a nice subtle touch. Now, what about the job title? I am a marketing manager or I am a student.
Again, those are labels. And labels can be a little boring. We want to talk about action. A great phrase to replace I am a is, I spend most of my time.
I spend most of my time.
That's interesting. So instead of I am a podcast host, I'd say I spend most of my time researching interesting topics and recording conversations. See the difference? I am a podcast host is a title. I spend most of my time researching tells me what your daily life actually looks like. It invites me to imagine your day.
It also lets you include things that aren't just your job, right?
Absolutely. If you're a student, you could say, I spend most of my time studying engineering, but I also play the guitar. It gives a fuller picture of your humanity.
So, everyone listening, I want you to try that. Think about what you actually do all day. I spend most of my time managing a team, or I spend most of my time coding software. It feels much more dynamic.
Okay, so we've established the present, and we need to provide some context. This leads us to step two, the past.
This answers the question, how did you get here?
Correct. But this is where many people go wrong. They start at the very, very beginning. I was born in a small town, and then they talk for 10 minutes.
Oh, I have been trapped in those conversations. You're just waiting for them to get to the point, but they're still talking about elementary school.
Uh-huh. Exactly. We call that the chronological trap. You don't need to give a full history report. You need to be an editor.
An editor.
You need to select only the parts of your past that are relevant to this conversation.
So if I'm at a business meeting, I probably shouldn't talk about my childhood cat.
Unless your business is selling cat food, probably not. You want to share the professional journey? A beautiful phrase for this is, I started my journey in.
I started my journey in. It sounds like a story immediately.
It does. I started my journey in architecture 10 years ago. It frames your career as a path you're walking on.
That's lovely. And what about our listeners who are living in a new country? Maybe they want to talk about their life before they moved.
That's a very common situation. A clear, natural phrase to use is, back in my home country, I used to.
Back in my home country, I used to. Let's practice the rhythm of that. Back in my home country, I used to.
Back in my home country, I used to work as a journalist. This creates a nice contrast between your past and your present. It shows the listener you have a rich background they might not see just by looking at you.
It adds depth. Okay, so we have the present I am based in, and the past I started my journey. Now we turn to step 3, the future.
This is my favorite part, and it's the part most people forget. The future is about where you are going,
Why is this part so important? I mean, why not just stop at the past?
because the past is unchangeable. But the future, that is about potential. It's about energy. When you talk about your goals, you show ambition. And psychologically, you invite the other person to help you.
That is a really key insight. If I tell you what I want, maybe you can help me get it.
Exactly. If you say, I'm looking for a job, that's just a statement. But if you use the phrase, I'm really excited to learn, it sounds positive and open.
I'm really excited to learn.
I'm currently based in London, but I'm really excited to learn more about digital marketing. Suddenly, if I know someone in marketing, I might introduce you.
You're planting seeds for connection. I love that.
Yes. Another strong phrase for this is, my goal for this year is.
My goal for this year is. That shows focus. My goal for this year is to become fluent in English.
If someone said that to me, I would immediately respect their dedication. It makes you sound proactive, not passive.
So the framework is present, past, future. It keeps you organized. It stops you from rambling.
Haha, it definitely stops the rambling.
Yeah.
However, Sarah, there is a danger here.
A danger? What is it?
The danger of sounding like a robot. If you just memorize these lines and recite them, you might sound a bit mechanical.
Right. I am based here. I started here. My goal is this.
Exactly. We need to add some human flavor. We need what we call the hook.
The hook. This is the thing that catches people's attention, right? Like Velcro for the brain.
Velcro is a great analogy. You want to say something that sticks in the other person's memory.
The mistake I see people make is being too generic. They say things like, I like music, or I like food.
It doesn't give me a way to start a conversation.
So let's try an experiment. I'll give you a boring fact, and you help me turn it into a hook.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, boring version. I like watching movie.
Okay, that is a snooze. I can't really ask you much about that. I could ask what movies, but it's a weak start. Make it specific.
Okay, how about I'm a huge fan of classic 80s sci-fi cinema.
Much better. Classic 80s sci-fi. Now I have a picture I can ask, oh, Do you prefer Star Wars or Star Trek? Or did you see Blade Runner?
The specificity gives you a handle to grab onto.
Exactly. Let's try one more. I like travel.
Too vague. Everyone likes vacations. How about, my dream is to visit every country in South America before I turn 40.
Fantastic. Now, I know you're adventurous, you have a specific goal, and we can talk about South America. That is memorable.
So, listeners, don't be afraid to be specific. Don't just say, I like reading. Tell us what you read. I am obsessed with historical mysteries.
Being specific makes you vulnerable, which is a little scary, but it's also what makes you interesting.
Now, James, we should explore the ins and outs of context because you wouldn't use the same introduction at a job interview that you would at, say, a noisy bar.
No, absolutely not. You have to read the room. We generally divide this into formal and informal settings.
Let's zoom in on the formal side first. Networking, interviews, meeting your boss's boss.
In these settings, the future part of your framework should focus on professional value. You're selling your skills, and your greeting needs to be a bit more polished.
We all know nice to meet you, but what's a level up from that?
A wonderful phrase for formal situations is, "It's a pleasure to finally meet you."
That sounds very elegant, but there are some pronunciation traps there, I think.
Yes, that word pleasure, it has that tricky sound in the middle. Pleasure, like the word measure.
Plaisir. Everyone try that.
Make sure you pronounce that L clearly. Finally, it's a pleasure to finally meet you.
When would you use the word finally in there?
Usually when you've emailed or messaged someone before, but this is the first time you're meeting face to face. It acknowledges that history.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about informal settings? A party, a meetup group.
Here, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. Might sound a bit stiff, maybe too much.
You might sound like you're trying to sell them insurance or something.
Exactly. In a casual setting, you focus on the hook. Focus on hobbies and just your vibe. And a simple nice to meet you or even great to meet you is perfect.
Great to meet you brings a nice energy. It sounds enthusiastic.
Energy is key. In casual settings, people are attracted to warmth.
Speaking of warmth, let's talk about the physical side of introductions, because we don't just speak with our words, do we?
No, the body speaks just as loudly. In many English-speaking cultures, there are two non-negotiables: eye contact and smiling.
Eye contact can be really hard if you're nervous or if you come from a culture where looking someone directly in the eye is considered rude.
That's a very valid point. In some cultures, lowering your eyes is a sign of respect. But in the US, the UK, or Australia, if you look at the floor, people might think you're hiding something, or maybe that you're bored.
So even if it feels uncomfortable at first, try to hold that eye contact. It signals, I am confident, I am listening.
And the smile signals, I am friendly, I am safe. It breaks down barriers immediately.
We also have the greeting rituals, the handshake versus the bow.
This is all about observation. If you're in a handshake culture, aim for a firm grip. Not a bone crusher, but definitely not a dead fish either.
Nobody likes the dead fish handshake. But if you're in a place where bowing is the norm or a cheek kiss is the norm, you adapt.
Exactly. Adaptability shows emotional intelligence.
James, I want to circle back to something you mentioned at the beginning, the fear, the anxiety of making mistakes.
Yes, this is the biggest mental block for so many people.
You said that native speakers value clarity over vocabulary. Can you expand on that? Because I think many learners believe they need to use big academic words to sound smart.
That is a huge misconception. In fact, if you use words that are too complex, you might actually create distance. You might sound arrogant or just confusing.
So simple is good.
Simple is powerful. Think about the greatest speeches in history. They often use simple, clear language. I have a dream, not I possess a nocturnal hallucination.
I possess a nocturnal hallucination. That is terrible.
Right. If you speak simply and clearly, I understand you. And if I understand you, we can connect. That is the goal.
And there's a technique to help with the fear, isn't there? Something to take the spotlight off yourself.
Yes. Active listening.
This is my favorite tip. Because when you're nervous, you get obsessed with yourself. Do I look okay? Is my grammar okay?
Exactly. You're trapped in your own head. But an introduction is a two-way street. You aren't giving a speech, you're starting a conversation.
So if you focus on the other person, your anxiety drops.
100%. Be curious. Listen to their name. Look at their face. If you're busy listening, you cannot be busy worrying.
And that leads perfectly to the final step of the introduction. What happens when you stop talking?
The silence. The awkward pause.
We've all been there. You finish your intro, and then just crickets.
You need to pass the ball. You need to transition to let the other person speak. And the magic phrase for this is incredibly simple.
What is it?
How about you?
How about you? It is so short, but it does so much work.
It acts like a switch. I'm really interested in photography. How about you? Boom. Now it's their turn. The pressure is off you.
And then you can just smile and listen.
Exactly. It turns a monologue into a dialogue. And people love to talk about themselves. If you ask them, they will think you are a great conversationalist.
So let's quickly recap this roadmap we've built today.
We started with the philosophy. Connection over perfection.
We learned the present, past, future framework to organize our story.
We practiced key phrases like, I'm currently based in, and I started my journey.
We talked about the hook using specific details like 80s sci-fi to be memorable.
We discussed adapting to formal situations with, it's a pleasure to finally meet you.
And we learned that smiling and asking, how about you, are your secret weapons against awkwardness.
It sounds like a lot when we list it all out, doesn't it?
It does. But you don't have to master it all today.
No. Just start with one thing. Maybe just practice the present part today. Write it down, say it in the mirror.
I think that's great advice. And James, before we go, I want to leave our listeners with a thought that really struck me while we were preparing this. We talk about introductions as something we do for other people, but I think the way you introduce yourself actually changes how you see yourself.
That is profound. Tell me more.
Well, if you constantly introduce yourself as just a student or just an employee, you start to believe you are just that. But if you use this framework, if you say, I am on a journey, or my goal is, you start to see yourself as the hero of your own story.
I love that. You are rewriting your own identity every time you speak.
Exactly. So, to everyone listening, your story is unique. No one else has your combination of history and dreams. It is a story worth telling well.
And remember, every expert was once a beginner. The most confident speaker you know once stood in a room, sweaty and nervous, wondering what to say.
So be patient with yourself. You are doing the hard work of learning a new language, and that alone is something to be proud of.
We certainly are proud of you.
We hope this discussion has given you some tools to walk into your next meeting or party with your head held high.
If you found this helpful, please let us know. We love hearing from you.
Please don't forget to subscribe and catch our next episode on the Vivid English podcast.
Yes, subscribing really helps us keep creating these lessons for all of you.
We have so many more topics coming up to help you build your English confidence.
Have a fantastic week, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.